So it's Tuesday morning. I should have recorded this yesterday, but we got the announcement yesterday that my country was lifting the lockdown, and my office sent a mail about how they might have us returning to work next week, Monday. So let's just say that yesterday was not a good day for me. I didn't leave my bed. I couldn't read. When you're so angry and so frustrated and you feel so helpless and like there's nothing you can do because capitalism has basically turned you into a sacrifice for profits. That was exactly how I felt. So I didn't do any reading yesterday, but I did pick up The Magicians this morning, and I am proud to say I have finally finished it. Yes, your girl finally finished The Magicians, which is the third book in our house. I have 9 more books to go, and there are 3 more days, including today. So, yeah, I don't know I'm going to pull it off. But I finally finished The Magicians by Lev Grossman, and I'm just. How do I still insist that Quentin is your stereotypical white boy, very entitled, believes that the world revolves around himself, believes that he's not responsible for a lot of the things that happen to him, and believes that the world owes him forgiveness. And at least for most of the book. And then we got to the end of the book, and I'm like, okay, so it might change. But what that automatically would mean is that, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so I'm going to lift my hand up. If you still intend to read The Magicians and you don't like spoilers, I'm going to have my hands up here. When I drop my hands down, then you know that I'm done with the spoiler part of this video, and you can, just mute me until my hand comes down. So anyway, it gets to the end of the book when Alice basically sacrifices herself because Quentin once again believed that he knows everything, even though he's in a situation that he has no knowledge of, and basically summons the beast. And she sacrifices herself, turns into a Niffin in order to save them. And he just bought into the old trope of a man becoming better because the woman he loves him like dies for him. I hate it when that happens in books, in movies, and seeing it replicated here again. I'm just like, it was so annoying. But yeah, I can see from the tendrils, and I'm thankful that Quentin does not buy into the whole point of magic being responsible for everything that went wrong, because he needs to learn to take responsibility, and that's something I noticed in a lot of this book. Quentin does not like to take responsibilities for things that he's actually responsible for. But in this case, he actually did state that, it's not magic's fault, it's my fault, it's Jane Chatwin's fault. It's everybody involved, it's their fault. So I get that, and I'm like, oh, thank God, it seems to be learning. And then when he decides to, I don't know, shut down, walk away, I'm thinking yet another way in which, Quentin, you try to avoid the situations, these problems, by just burying your head in the sand. And the last scene in the book has me very suspicious, because I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden Julia is there, and I'm like, interesting. So I would read The Magician's King next. I don't know if I'm going to read it in May, because I have a lot of books I want to read in May, and this book took me forever to read because I could not stand this boy. I could not stand a lot of the characters in this book. But like people said, they get better as the books go along. But right now I'm just like, ugh. Anyway, if you're interested in picking up The Magician, just note that Quentin is not a likable character. Is not a likable character, and you all know that characters are an important part for me when I'm reading a book. I don't even mind characters that are not good people, so far as they do not convince themselves, because Quentin is a jerk, but he legitimately convinces himself and believes himself that he's a nice guy, and that's just annoys me. And then there's the bits with this seems of revenge fantasy thing that was meted out with Julia at the, like, in the half of this book. The nice guy who now the girl is come crawling back to him. It seems like a lot of self-insert white male fantasy thing, and I'm like, I hope they get better in the next book. But I'm moving on to Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon Maguire. I hope to finish this afternoon. Not hope, I know I'll finish this afternoon. And then I can, once I finish this, and I will pick up Gideon the Night again. I want to see if I can actually finish all 3 books this evening, like before nighttime, so that by nighttime I can start reading the audiobook for 10,000 Doors of January. Like, Every Heart a Doorway is a pick for I can't remember, but it's a pick for Heart on the cover, and my 10,000 Doors of January is my astronomy book pick because it's an audiobook and I want to listen to it at night. So let's see how many books I can finish at the end of today. But I have 9 more books to go, and there are just 3 days left. So pray for me, everybody. Pray for me. So the time is 9:23 p.m. and I just finished Every Out the Doorway by Shannon Maguire. This is my prompt for Ancient Runes because it's a book with hearts in the title or on the cover. This is short but so beautiful, so poignant, so introspective. The way Shannon Maguire writes about portal magic and the children that come back and are desperate to look for home and are terrified of never finding it and are also terrified of going back to a family that does not understand who they are anymore. It's just so heartbreaking, and the way this story ended, it was perfect. This book is perfect in every single way. I got this as a present 2 years ago. I cannot believe it took me this long to read it because I kept waiting to get the rest of the Wayward Children series, and now I understand the reason why, because this is a series I would love to binge, but at the same time this is a series I would love to savor because I want to meet these children. I want to know them, from Cade to Jack to Christopher to Jill to Nancy to Sumi. To L'Oreal. This is such a good book. And coming from someone that just finished reading The Magicians, and The Magicians took me 8 days. This was such a perfect palate cleanser, and I'm in the mood for more. I want more portal fantasy stories, which is a perfect segue to the next book I'll be reading, which I'm starting tonight. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it tonight because right now I want to take a little bit of a break to eat dinner, to maybe watch a new, because I'm doing a rewatch of the Star Trek, the original series. So I want to watch one episode of the Star Trek show and then go back to reading, just to take a break so that I don't get overwhelmed, because I'm going to be reading a lot of books over the next 3 days. Actually, now it's technically 2 days and a couple of hours, like two days and 3 hours, and I've only read 4 books so far. I have 8 more books to read. So yeah, so the next book, like I said, is a perfect segue. I'm still reading a portal fantasy book. It's my choice for the astronomy prompts, in the sense that it's an audiobook and it's laid out so I can read it. So I am reading The 10,000 Doors of January, and this is narrated by January Lavoie, which I'm in awe, because January Lavoie was the one that narrated The Diviners, and you all know how much I loved, adored, worshipped. I'm in awe of a narration from The Diviners. So I cannot wait to read The 10,000 Doors of January. I'm going to be listening to that tonight. Let's see if I can finish listening to it tonight. I don't know, fingers crossed. I'm not sure. I do have some work to do tomorrow, and then I have more work to do on Thursday. So let's just see how many books I can read. I know I am cutting it really close, but I really do want to read all my hours by the end of Thursday, by Thursday night. So it's Thursday, it's May 30th, it's the last day of the hours. I started this month believing that I'll be able to read all 12 books I needed for my hours. Unfortunately, as of Tuesday, I had only read 4 out of the 12 books. And yesterday was busy for me with regards to work, so I couldn't put up any updates. Also because the book I was reading was the book I chose for astronomy, and I could only read it at night anyway. So I actually did pick it up yesterday night during the quarantine pages silent reading, and I finished it yesterday night. I think that one, the writing is beautiful. Alex E. Arrow knows how to vividly describe worlds and settings and emotions. I truly felt the fruitlessness and the despair that January Scala felt in this book, and the abuse. Trigger warning though in this book. Trigger warning for cruelty to animals, trigger warning for being forced, locked into a room without your permission, trigger warning for being committed to a ward, trigger warning for cutting, because there was a bit of cutting with a very sharp object. That was not a knife, but still, there was blood. So trigger warnings in this book, but I did feel how hopeless she felt, how helpless she felt, how the depth of despair and rage. Alex E. Arrow was able to capture everything perfectly well. Now, you all know that the last book I did an update on was Every Out the Doorway, which was the first book in the Wayward Children series by Shannon Maguire. This is also another portal fantasy, except for the fact that we did see. I love this book. I just wanted more world traveling, and I think it's just out of greed because for me, this book was just beautiful. At some times, I wanted to reach into the book and just shake January Scala so hard because she was just so naive in so many ways. And then I remember the fact that this is a 17-year-old girl who has been so sheltered, and who had learned to depend, on the one person that she shouldn't be depending on, and who had been abandoned by her father. Sure, his reasons were justified, but it does not take away the fact that she was abandoned. So I I found it in my heart to acknowledge the fact that the circumstances to which she was placed warranted some of the naivety that she displayed. $10,000 of January is all about finding doors, finding escape, finding portals, and the people that, cannot be held back, that refuse to be locked in. And the symbolism of doors being what it is that grants us freedom, and the fact that doors are found through stories. This is just a love letter to people, like to readers who have always believed that books are portals for us to, move to another world. And I just love saying that. I really, honestly, 100%, really, really do enjoy this book. So far I've read 5 books for the house, and then I was tweeting about the fact that, oh my god, I'm so behind and I read so many books. Why is it that there's no Shadowhunter, like none of the Shadowhunter books I read through, would work for any of the prompts? And then someone mentioned, like, hold up though, warlocks perform magic. So the term might not be witches and wizards, but they do perform magic. So they would work for history of magic. And I'm like, I read the Bane Chronicles. I gave this a 5 stars because I loved it. Also because it features the number one love of my life, Magnus Bane. And I'm like, I have my history of magic from down. So I am so happy. So far, I have 6 prompts done and dusted. There are 6 more prompts to go. I'm not going to deceive myself and say that I can read 6 books in a day. Like, I think I'm cool, but I don't think I'm that cool. And also, and most importantly, I have meetings today. I have a ton of meetings today. Today is going to be a very busy day for me, work-wise. Yeah, I'm just like, I probably will not start like really, really reading until, say, maybe another 3 hours. So let's say 12, give or take. By 12, yes. By 12 p.m., give or take, I would start reading. And then it's just a case of being able to see how many books I can read in 12 hours, before the hours end. So I just finished reading Hot Spirits by Esther Gibson. This is my pick for potions. So we're meant to read a book, I think, with less than 150 pages, and this book was 70 pages thereabout. I loved it. It was cute. It was sweet. It was filled with so much mysticism and magic, because this book is all about what a malevolent entity that has taken up space in the home of a chaos witch and a ceremonial magician, and they have to figure out exactly what brought on the spirit and how best to expel it, and in so doing basically come to, one, learn just how important communication in their marriage is, and two, the fact that your fear has so much power over you. I think it was short and concise and so well told and so brilliantly done, and just there is so much respect and adoration for, Wicca and magic in this book. Like, I can't say I'm certain, but I would not be surprised to discover that S.T. Gibson practices, because this was done so well. So well. I loved it. At the fact that Moira is black, she's Baptist, and she's a chaos witch, and Reese, who is her husband, is white and is Catholic, and or was Catholic, and is a ceremonial magician. And there's just this union of who they are and their identity, and they have this amazing relationship that just works. I had such a blast reading it. It was such a fast, such a quick read, but also hit me so much in the gut. There is also representation here. There's bisexual representation in this book, and I loved the conversation that arose as a result of it. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to spoil it for you, but I definitely did enjoy this book, and I'm definitely giving it a 4 stars because I loved it. Next book on my list to read is The 18 Game by Sally Thorne. I am reading this for Muggle Studies, so I sincerely hope I finish it soon. So it's Friday morning. It's the 1st of May. Yeah, I know. I just woke up. It was insane. I'm sorry I didn't give any updates yesterday. I was really focused on trying to meet the deadline to read, So I did finish 2 books yesterday. I finished Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson, which I've already done an update for. And I also finished The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This was my dream enemies to lovers book, like set in a contemporary world. I enjoyed it. It was a blast. I loved how freaking childish, like, oh my god. Lucinda and Joshua were just absolutely childish, and they hated each other. And of course, eventually we do find out that the emotion was not necessarily hate. I know some of their actions were pretty much juvenile, but it gave it that added edge of comedy. To me, it's a romantic comedy of a book, and I enjoyed it. It was fun. The part where Lucinda, close to the end of the book, gives a well-earned dressing down to a character just filled me with such joy. Like, if you've read this book, you know the scene I'm talking about, and I'm certain you also felt that sense of satisfaction because it was such a glorious moment. But I did enjoy this till the end of the book, and I love the fact that unlike so many other books, there were no unnecessary drama. I was hoping that the book will continue to subvert my expectations, and of course I did call the whole what was happening at the wedding drama thing. Like, I knew it. I knew that part was predictable, but other than that, I did enjoy it. So I finished this yesterday. This was my pick for Muggle Studies. And I gave it 5 stars. Definitely loved it. Odd Spirits, like I said, was my pick for potions, and I gave that 4 stars. Now, I know I said, like, in my TBR video, I had already chosen Don't Date Rosa Santos for my pick for Defense Against the Dark Arts, because I really did want to take that exam. But as that's yesterday, I was so tired. I fell asleep at like say 10 because I was so exhausted. I was like, you know what, nope. So I did not read beyond that point. So it was very it was very close. And then it just occurred to me, I'm like, oh, hold up. Once again, I still had that same conversation, the one I had with the Brain Chronicles. Like, is there any of the many Cassandra Clare books that I read outside of my house TBR that could actually work for an house subject? And then it hit me. I'm like, hold up, Noria, you read Clockwork Princess. Like, that is a story of a shape-shifting warlock. Like, her shape-shifting powers were crucial for the end of the book, for her fighting, for the fight against the villain. And I'm like, how the hell did I forget the fact that Clockwork Princess, the core of it is shape-shifting? It was just funny. I'm just a mess. Anyway, so I ended up changing the subjects, right? So I put down Clockwork Princess for Transfiguration, but then that then meant that the book, the giant, massive, beautiful Priory of the Orange Tree that I read for Transfiguration, what other subject then could that one work for? And then it hit me, and I'm like, hold up a minute. Um, why can't that work for Defense Against the Dark Arts? Because let's be real, part of the story did take place in a coastal town. It was in a city by the sea, like all the parts with Tana, because like the dragons had to live near the ocean, and all the parts with Tana, every single thing was by the ocean. So I'm like, this book, part of this book does take place by the sea. So it worked. So I ended up putting down Priory of the Orange Tree as my pick for Defense Against the Dark Arts. So in total, I was able to complete 9 out of my 12 hour subjects. I am so freaking happy. Like, oh my God, you all have no idea. Absolutely no idea. So I am delighted. I'm through the roof. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. Thank you very much for coming with me for my house. Thank you for making it less lonely. Thank you for making, binging through it at home a very worthy experience. And thank you for being the receptor, the recipient of my thoughts and opinions about all these books I've read. And I will see you in my next update.